Something that has been on my mind so much lately that I had to make a video about it is the process of decentering romantic relationships in your life and instead centering friendships and community. I feel like if you've been watching my videos lately, this won't come as a surprise because I can't stop talking about it. It's a really big part of my life right now, and so it's on my mind a lot, and I want to share what I'm learning and what I'm experiencing and what I'm thinking about, and I hope that it will resonate and maybe inspire some of you who are watching. Decentering romantic relationships is not an easy process. For me, it has been an excruciatingly painful process at times. At other times, it has been full of joy and hope and honestly true happiness like I've never felt before. Our society is so centered around romantic relationships, and the way I was raised was so inundated with finding the one and pouring all of your heart and soul and focus and life into that one person. It is going completely against my natural impulses based on that upbringing and that conditioning to decenter those romantic relationships. And I think it's truly at its core a reimagining of my identity, because being someone's everything and having someone be everything to me, being their helper and their supporter, and by doing that, being their muse, their love, their adored one. Wow, I completely forgot where I was going with that sentence. But basically, that has been my focus for literally my entire life until very recently, until probably just this year specifically. And that's why this year has been absolutely transformational for me. I wrote in my journal last night before going to bed that this is the best year of my life. And I really do feel that to my core and to my toes, because my life has just been opening in a way that I have dreamed of, I have wanted so badly my whole life, and it's finally happening. And that doesn't mean that it hasn't been an extremely hard year. It absolutely has. But I think that with growth, with change, comes pain. That's just going to be part of it. And this pain is so worth it to me because of the hope and the freedom that I am experiencing in reorienting my life around community and around friendship, and affirming to myself that I am worthy by myself as a human being, whether I'm in a romantic relationship or not, whether I am someone's significant other, and whether I have a significant other or not. And please don't get me wrong, I'm a very romantic person, and I absolutely hope and intend to be in a romantic relationship again at some point in my life. But I'm very serious about building up my community and pouring into my friendships so that I have a robust community and a robust social life with many social connections, so that when I am in a romantic relationship, I already have that foundation of connections and care and platonic love. Because I truly believe that when we have that in our lives, we're able to bring a more healthy and whole version of ourselves to a romantic relationship. And that's just hypothetical for me because I haven't been able to practice that yet. I'm in the building process right now, the building of the community and the friendships. So I haven't had the chance yet to bring that version of myself to a romantic relationship. So, maybe it's gonna feel and look a lot different than I'm thinking it will. But either way, I am very committed to working towards a balance. That someday when I am in a romantic partnership again, I'm not going to abandon my friendships and put all of that responsibility on that one person, or allow that person to put all of that responsibility on me. Because no one person can fulfill all the needs of another. And I come from a very, very, very enmeshed upbringing. It's like family was like this, That's the best way I can describe it. For anyone listening, instead of watching, I just tangled up my fingers and my arms in a really uncomfortable, tangly way. That's the best way I can describe how family felt. It was like we were all just tangled up in a bunch of, codependent enmeshed ropes, and we were stuck there with each other. And that's what I knew. So, of course, I have carried that on beyond my childhood. But I'm learning to create different pathways and different patterns now. And that is really, really exciting. Change is always possible. And one of my biggest fears is being stuck. So to remember that change is always possible is such a relief and such a comfort to me. I've been reading this book, All About Love by Bell Hooks, for about 5, almost 6 years. I started this book in 2019, and I have put it down and picked it back up again many times ever since. And it's a little embarrassing to admit that I am taking this long to finish a book, but I don't think it helps anyone to pretend that I'm further along in something than I am. And in the spirit of, being honest and fighting perfectionism, I'm not even done with it yet. I will show you where my bookmark is. There's like a few chapters left that I haven't even read yet. And I think the reason why it has taken me so long to get through this book is because the truths, the information is so rich, and the word that comes to mind is subversive, radical, that it's a lot to hold. I have found it to be a lot to hold. And there have been times in my life where I've tried to read this book and I just wasn't ready for it. I just wasn't ready to take the information I was learning from Bell Hooks' beautiful words and compare it to my life, and to ask myself, is this what love looks like in my life? I think it was just too painful. It was like too bright, too shiny, hurt my eyes. I just had to put it down for months at a time. But I have returned and returned and returned to this book. And I feel like this year, more than any other year before, I am the most ready I've ever been to embrace this book and to really dream, and work towards the kind of love that Bell Hooks describes in this book. The chapter that I want to talk about in this video is chapter 8, Community, Loving Communion. The whole chapter is all about community, and I literally devoured this chapter. When I got to that chapter on community, I just couldn't put the book down. I just kept reading and reading and underlining and just soaking it all in. And I just want to share some of it, some of the sentences that I've underlined and what they mean to me, and how they have inspired me and encouraged me to continue after this pursuit of centering community and friendship in my life right now. Much of the talk about family values in our society highlights the nuclear family, one that is made up of mother, father, and preferably 1 or 2 children. In the United States, this unit is presented as the primary and preferable organization for the parenting of children, one that will ensure everyone's optimal well-being. Of course, this is a fantasy image of family. Hardly anyone in our society lives in an environment like this. Even individuals who are raised in nuclear families usually experience it as merely a small unit within a larger unit of extended kin. Capitalism and patriarchy together, as structures of domination, have worked overtime to undermine and destroy this larger unit of extended kin. Replacing the family community with a more privatized, small, autocratic unit helped increase alienation and made abuses of power more possible. It gave absolute rule to the father and secondary rule over children to the mother. By encouraging the segregation of nuclear families from the extended family, women were forced to become more dependent on an individual man and children more dependent on an individual woman. It is this dependency that became and is the breeding ground for abuses of power. Whew. The failure of the patriarchal nuclear family has been utterly documented, exposed as dysfunctional more often than not, as a place of emotional chaos, neglect, and abuse. Only those in denial continue to insist that this is the best environment for raising children. I mean, that's a really bold statement, but I don't disagree. It has certainly been my experience that the patriarchal nuclear family has been a place of emotional chaos, neglect, and abuse. And I want to create something different for myself, for my inner child. And I want to create something different for my actual child, my daughter. And I think that modeling to her, prioritizing friendship, and creating community, being there for others, and letting others be there for me, that's the one I have a hard time with. That's the one I'm gonna have to really work on. It's gonna be a work in progress. It's very, very, very difficult for me to not only accept help when it's offered, but to reach out for help. Yikes. I think that in a romantic relationship is a place where I have felt the most free to ask for help, but it's because of this sort of transactional, well, I'm this person's significant other and I do so much for this person that it's like a given. It's part of our contract that you should help me with something. And that's hard to say out loud. That's hard to admit, but it is true. And that's something that I really want to move away from. What I want instead is more mutuality, a broader network of support, and community care. I don't want to be putting all of my expectations of help onto one person or a small little, tiny little group of people. I want to reach out for help to more people. And if one person isn't able to help, then I can ask someone else. And it doesn't have to be this obligation out of these power structures and these dysfunctional, relationships. All right, so this next part. If we do not experience love in our extended families of origin, which is the first site for community offered us, the other place where children in particular have the opportunity to build community and know love is in friendship. Since we choose our friends, many of us, from childhood on into our adulthood, have looked to friends for the care, respect, knowledge, and all-around nurturance of our growth that we did not find in the family. And for some of us, that wasn't possible. At least, not in this way. For some of us, we did not get to experience that kind of friendship. But we have the opportunity as adults to seek out that friendship now. And it's not easy, especially if you did not have that experience of friendship when you were young. Being raised homeschooled and in a high demand religious cult-like community, it's not a place that fosters this kind of friendship that can be, a healing alternative to your dysfunctional and abusive family. But I think that a big part of reparenting ourselves, and reparenting is something that has also been on my mind a lot lately and something I've been focusing on. Reparenting is seeking as adults to give ourselves the things that we weren't given as children. And so when it comes to friendship, one big way that I am reparenting myself is by seeking out the friendship that I wasn't able to have as a child. Bell Hooks goes on to say, most of us are raised to believe we will either find love in our first family, our family of origin, or if not there, in the second family we are expected to form through committed romantic couplings, particularly those that lead to marriage and or lifelong bondings. Many of us learn as children that friendship should never be seen as just as important as family ties. However, friendship is the place in which a great majority of us have our first glimpse of redemptive love and caring community. Learning to love in friendships empowers us in ways that enable us to bring this love to other interactions with family or with romantic bonds. Yes, that's what I was saying before. When you have these life-giving friendships and you are surrounded by community, you're able to bring that love that you develop there into your romantic relationships, into your family relationships. And some of those friendships become family to you, chosen family. And I absolutely gathered that message as a child, that friendship should never be seen as important as family ties. The messages that I got actually went beyond that, and it was this idea that the family unit, the dad, the mom, and the kids are always, always, always more important than the extended family. So uncles and aunts and grandparents and cousins were never, ever, ever to be put on the same level. And I mean, there was a lot going on there. The children were taught to mistrust extended family, and that had a lot to do with the abuse that was happening at home. So, you know, obviously quite complex, a lot of things that I don't want to go too much into in this video, but it's a good reminder to me of why, you know, it's a long and difficult road to develop the kind of friendships and community that I want, because I've been conditioned from a young age to fight against it and to do the opposite. So it's such a beautiful and exciting thing now to start to get a glimpse of what I'm going for and to really feel like it's possible. Bell Hooks continues, often we take friendships for granted, even when they are the interactions where we experience mutual pleasure. We place them in a secondary position, especially in relation to romantic bonds. This devaluation of our friendships creates an emptiness we may not see when we are devoting all our attention to finding someone to love romantically, or giving all our attention to a chosen loved one. Committed love relationships are far more likely to become codependent when we cut off all our ties with friends, to give these bonds we consider primary our exclusive attention. And that's what I want to change in my life. I do not want to put romantic relationships on this pedestal. I don't want there to be a hierarchy of relationships where, you know, romantic relationships are up here and friendships are just a nice thing to have, you know, a nice little filler. Bell Hooks says, when we see love as the will to nurture one's own or another's spiritual growth, revealed through acts of care, respect, knowing, and assuming responsibility, the foundation of all love in our life is the same. There is no special love exclusively reserved for romantic partners. Genuine love is the foundation of our engagement with ourselves, with family, with friends, with partners, with everyone we choose to love. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's really resonating with me. And I know it's radical. Like I said, it is a pretty radical idea when you compare it to the ideals of society. So, you know, if you're watching this and it feels like, whoa, I don't know about that, I get it. I totally understand. And when I picked up this book in 2019, I was not to the place where I'm at with it now. So I really do get it. And it's okay, you know? It's okay. Change takes time. And maybe, you know, some people are going to hear this and they're just going to say, no, it's not for me. I'm very happy in my, you know, romantic partnership, and that is my priority, and that's what works best for me. And if that's what works best for you, then I respect that. But for me, community care is the way that I'm going. That last sentence, genuine love is the foundation of our engagement with ourselves, with family, with friends, with partners, with everyone we choose to love. It's just so beautiful. And that's what I want to keep going after. That's what I want to practice embodying in my life. I truly believe that self-love is a huge and important part of all of this, of all of the love that we're able to give others. Later in the chapter, she says, we all long for loving community. It enhances life's joy. But many of us seek community solely to escape the fear of being alone. Knowing how to be solitary is central to the art of loving. When we can be alone, we can be with others without using them as a means of escape. Do you see what I mean about, like, just mind-blowing truths that are difficult to hold? I mean, that one, I have to just catch my breath over and over again when I'm reading this book. Like, so beautifully encapsulates one way that loving ourselves is a way to love others. In this reparenting of ourselves, in this caring for ourselves, it's like we've got ourselves, you know? And we don't have to put the entire burden of being okay on someone else, on their shoulders. When we love ourselves, we are freed up to more genuinely love other people and to be more present with them. Instead of, like she says, using them as a means of escape. A means of escape from our own self and our own feelings. And it's hard. It's not going to be, an easy fix. None of this is an easy fix. This is a lifelong journey. So it's okay, if we fuck up and if we make mistakes and if we go in and out of doing these things, It's not going to happen overnight. This is a big, big shift that's going to take a really long time. Well, this ended up being a much longer video than I was expecting. If you have made it this far, please put your favorite flower emoji in the comments. I like to think of community and friendship as a garden that I am cultivating, that I am growing. Maybe it's a little bit of a cheesy metaphor, but I absolutely love it. I'd also just love to hear your thoughts on community and friendship, and if you are in the process of decentering romantic relationships, please feel free to share whatever you're comfortable about how that process is going for you. It's not always the most popular thing to do, so if I can hear from others who are doing the same, I know it's going to help me feel less alone.